Yeah, they can put it here. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to this press conference where annually we come as the police leadership and management to release and share with the nation the national crime statistics for the 2012-2013 financial year. We will be adopting this approach. The Minister will address the nation in terms of what has transpired, and then from there we'll have the National Commissioner giving us an analysis. Then we'll open for question and answer. We also want to welcome millions of viewers who are watching this press briefing, both on... Hello? 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 Can I get some sound, please? 1, 2. Hello? Is it clear now? Can the technicians assist us with the sound? Okay, apologies for this. I think they fixed it. 1, 2. One, two. 1. Checking. 1, 2.
Testing 1, 2, 1, 2.
Testing 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing. Is it audible? Testing 1, 2.
Did you do a movement?
No, sir. It's working. It's the way it's working.
1, 2. And nobody will have to zoom in. I thought it was going to go. 1, 2. 1, 2.
Yeah, that's working.
Is it clear?
That's the order, sir. It's on that speakers.
Do you have a roving mic, perhaps? 1, 2. 1, 2. Is it fine? But you see, the thing is now he has to zoom.
Can't you bring near? Maybe bring it in.
Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3.
This is the hardest the system can go, because the system is like a conference system.
Okay. Okay, I think we'll proceed. Okay? 1, 2. Is it better? Okay. Sincere apologies about this. These things do happen, you know. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the release of the National Crime Statistics, which we do annually, where we account to the nation in terms of the progress in the fight against crime. In the interest of time, I won't be introducing all our guests who are here. I'm sure the Minister will do that when he does the release of the stats. But I just want to introduce the panel in front of me. We have the Minister of Police, Minister Nathi Mthethwa, with us. We have the National Commissioner of Police, General Ria Pierre. We also have the Deputy National Commissioners present here. So without any further ado, I'll now invite the Minister to address the nation. And thanks, Minister.
Thank you, Zweli. And to all MECs here present and the National Commissioner of Police, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police, Ms. Van Wyk, all Subs, Lieutenant Generals here present, senior officers and staff members, Civilian Secretariat of Police, Ms. Irish, CEO of SIRA, Mr. Chauke, Acting Executive Director of IP, Mbeki, representatives of Statistics South Africa, CPFs, business, policing unions, representatives from research, the academia, civic organizations here present, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. The current administration came into power having identified 5 priorities for its current term. Amongst those 5 priorities was the fight against crime, of which SABC is at the helm of leading that campaign. Over the past 19 years, after centuries of colonialism and apartheid, a new era has dawned in South Africa. Contrary to what some skeptics may affirm, the journey we have traversed thus far gives us confidence that we shall reach our goal of a society that is free from crime, a society that attracts investments, and a society that cares. The duty we are undertaking this morning of objectively accounting before the nation on the progress in crime prevention and reduction depicts the reality that our interventions are yielding the desired effect around tackling crime, although we still have a long way to go on this front. This is despite the fact that our population figures have been on the increase. The increase of SABC's national crime statistics, the release of these statistics covering the period of the 1st of April 2012 to the 31st of March 2013 should be understood from the reflective and accounting point of view. Our democratic government has invested enormously in policing environment. We have a total personnel strength of 197,946 with a comparative police to person ratio of 1:336. This is in line with the international ratio of person to police. We have adequate vehicles, 51,713 vehicles, with a vehicle to personnel ratio of 1:3.38. And in South Africa, there are 1,135 police stations serving as fixed police community contact points for service delivery. Government initiatives and the criminal justice system to fight crime are plausible. Over the past 9 years, from 2004, 2005 to 2012, 2013, crime continues to decline against the increase in population figures. There are specific crimes that continue to persist over the same period. The escalating number of public unrest also draws local members conducting basic policing to support public policing and strains resources. Success in public order policing is further enhanced by continuously restoring and sustaining stability in the country, We, however, still recognize that more fresh and dedicated resources are required to capacitate public order policing to meet these challenges. The murders of police continue to erode their capacity in the fight against crime. The rural community access to police services requires creative rural policing partnership initiatives and accessibility models. Current initiatives include the rollout of provincial crime prevention strategies and mine crime combating forums. We also have strategic partnerships with the banking sector, like SABC, Business Against Crime. We have relations with Crime Line and Lead South Africa, Agri South Africa, FAO, and many others, including Consumer Council. Crime ratio is an internationally accepted depiction of crime, as raw figures may skew the true reflection on performance of those types of crime that directly affect the population, particularly conduct crime. This is further corroborated by the fact that the opportunity for these crimes is also tantamount to the population dynamics. We are aware that certain crime does not have to utilize the entire population ratios, hence the provisioning of both raw figures and ratios for all serious crime to allow for ease reference or utilization for any person or entity wishing to conduct further analysis on each crime. A comprehensive and detailed breakdown of crime statistics will be available on the SABS website. Fellow South Africans, during 2011-2012 financial year, there were 140,000 serious crime arrests effected and 806,298 in 2012-2013. There were 307,580 convictions in 2011-2012 and 352,513 in 2012-2013. 609 suspects were sentenced to 826 life sentences. Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Offences Unit accounts for 499 of these life sentences. 1,586 persons were sentenced to a combined total of 2,006 years imprisonment for serious crimes. Reported crime figures pertaining to crimes against women and children indicate that in 2009-2010, there were 197,877 crimes committed against women in comparison to 175,808 in 2012-2013. That would have been a decrease of 11%. In 2009-2010, there were 56,539 crimes committed against children in comparison to 49,550 in 2012-2013, decreasing by 12%. Police also recovered 51,730 vehicles in 2012-2013. There were 89 clandestine laboratories, drug laboratories, detected and dismantled over the past 3 years. That is 32 in 2010-2011, 16 in 2011-2012, and 41 in 2012-2013. 1,096 liters of liquor was confiscated, and 92,929 identified illegal liquor outlets were closed down during 2011-2012, compared to 1.8 billion liters confiscated and 74,547 premises closed in 2012-2013. We still experience a high prevalence of illegal firearms. However, the following successes were noted during the financial year under review. 25,615 firearms in 2011-2012 compared to 20,145 in 2012-2013. Voluntary surrender, 4,876 firearms in 2011-2012 compared to 4,936 in 2012-2013. Distractions, 119,810 firearms distracted in 2011-2012 and 56,051 in 2012-2013. Longitudinally, the following broad categories of crime have constantly indicated varying proportions of decrease when one considered a 9, 5, 4, and 1 year approach. It would be important to note this time around that in instances and types of crimes who have been successful for over years, there's been slip on some of them. And those which have evaded us for a long period, we have scored some success. So there has been exchange of successes and lack thereof. Conduct crime has reduced by 38.2% over a 9-year period, 16% during the past 4 years, and 4.2% during the past financial year. Conduct-related crime has reduced by 32.4% over 9 years, 16% during the past 4 years, and 4.3% during the year under review. Property-related crime has reduced by 24% over the period of 9 years, 1.4% over the period of 4 years, and has slightly increased by 1.7% during the past financial year. Other serious crimes have reduced by 36.5% over 9 years, 11.4% during the past 4 years, and decreased by 5.3% during the past financial year. The following conduct crimes have individually displayed a downward trend. Decrease in sexual offences. Total sexual offences emanate from the expanded legal definition in terms of criminal law, the Sexual Offences and Related Matters Amendment Act of 2007, as implemented on the 15th of December 2007. These crimes have reduced by 10.9% over the period of 9 years and 12.3% during the past 4 years. This year, in the year under review, has decreased over 0.4%. A subcategory of this crime, which is rape, including compelled rape, acts of consensual sexual penetration with certain children from 12 to 16 years old, has decreased by 3.3% during the past 4 years, and this year, under review, 0.4%. Nonetheless, we want to reiterate the point that we are very unhappy and concerned about the levels of rape in the country. Protection of communities is now central to our strategies that are aimed at reducing incidences of gender-based violence. A victim-oriented police service is thus an important part of the overall criminal justice response to crimes against vulnerable groups in society. 3 years ago, we took a conscious decision of reintroducing the Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Offences Unit, which we are now seeing the fruits of that decision. Based on the capacity building and investment in the environment, remarkable increases in life sentences continue to be experienced. Since the re-establishment of the FCS units, there were a combined 36,225 years imprisonment. Another subcategory of this crime, sexual assault, has been on the increase over the past 3 years. That is 13.8%, 14.5%, and 14.6% respectively. For the financial year under review, sexual assault decreased by 6.2%. Our crime analysis, and supported by independent analysts, point out that 80% of such crime happen amongst acquaintances, happen within families, and they happen with people whom the victims are more familiar. Conviction of perpetrators has a deterrent impact on crime through quick and effective arrest. The recent announcement by the Minister of Justice on specialized courts for this particular area is encouraging, and we hope it's going to add in the arsenal in the fight against these types of crimes. Another area, the assault GBH, which has reduced by 36.6% over 9 years, 15% over the past 4 years, and in the year under review has decreased by 6.6%. The common assault again reduced by 45.4% over 9 years, 16.5% during the past 4 years, and 7.9% during the past financial year. Immediate arrest, zero tolerance on withdrawals of these cases by SABS, and the continued closing of identified illegal liquor outlets has contributed to the reduction of this crime. Decrease in common robbery, reduced by 50.3% over 9 years, 15.9% over the past 4 years, and 2.2% over the last period, which is 2012-2013 financial year. The role of the community in supplying the necessary information and patrols of the streets has drastically reduced possibilities of this crime. This corroborated by swift arrests that have been effected. The shoplifting, we are engaging in partnership, policing and strategic relations with retail sector and the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa to cooperatively design strategies and interventions aimed at reducing this crime that continues to silently impact on the economy and job creation in high proportions. Over the past 9 years, this type of crime has decreased by 12%, 17% over the past 4 years, and 3.9% decreased during the past financial year. The decrease in robbery at non-residential, or what is referred to as business premises, and this is one area which has constantly increased, shown increased of 296% over 9 years, and over 4 years, 9.4%, but it has reduced during this past financial year by 0.6%. The decrease in robbery of cash in transit has remarkably reduced by 24.5% over 9 years, 62% over the period of 4 years, and by 20.3% decrease during the past financial year. Decrease in bank robbery reduced by 88.7% over the period of 9 years, 93% during the past 4 years, and decreased by 80% during the past financial year. And this can be attributed to the sharing of intelligence with banking industry, sharing of corroborated statistics, dedicated prosecutors, and so on. Decrease in ATM bombings during the 2011-2012 financial year. We witnessed a 34.6% decrease in ATM bombings from 399 cases to a reduction of 261 cases. For the year under review, we have seen an 18% decrease in this type of crime. Needless to say, that lessons on impact which strategic and structured partnerships such as SABC exert on crime and have led to such decreases, police alone would not have been able to break the backbone of these crimes over the past few years. There's also been recorded decrease on arson of 38.9% over 9 years, 17.7% over 4 years, and 8.7% during the past financial year. The malicious damage to property has reduced by 32% over 9 years, 16% during the past 4 years, and 4.1% during the past financial year. The decrease in theft of motor vehicles and motorcycles by 41.2% over 9 years, 28.4% over 4 years. We have witnessed a 4.4% decrease during the past financial year. The stock theft, our rural safety plan addresses vulnerable sectors of rural communities, including women, children, elderly, people with disability, and even immigrants. We do not prioritize these crimes based on racial profiling, but treat them as prioritized crimes equally across the board. Stock theft has also reduced by 35.7% over 9 years, 7.3% during the past 4 years, and 6.5% during the past financial year. We're encouraged that various stakeholders have supported and continue to work with SABC in a properly coordinated and integrated manner and engage at all levels in our planning and implementation of this plan. That is why SABC has now established rural safety priority committees at all police stations and provinces. And on this, we want to mention and single out FAO and Agri South Africa, who have been working with the police. The decrease in illegal possession of firearms, firearm ratio has decreased by a marginal of 0.7% during the financial year 2012-2013. For at least the past 4 financial years, the illegal possession of firearms and ammunition cases decreased by 1.4% at an average decrease of 0.4% per annum. The decrease in all other theft has reduced by 38.2% over 9 years, 16% during the past 4 years, and 7% during the past financial year. A few highlights in this regard includes non-ferrous metals, 614 arrests, and 139 convictions affected as a result of investigations into theft of copper cables over the past 4 years. 70,642 kilogram copper cable and 7,270 kilogram aluminium confiscated to date. A National Non-Ferrous Metals Crime Combating Committee has been established with key role players to reduce the proliferation of this type of crime. Murder has shown a constant reduction over the past 9 years. It reduced by 27% over 9 years, with a further reduction of 16.6% during the past 4 years. We have now witnessed a slight increase of 0.6% during the past financial year. Since 1994, we've been making steady progress in the fight against crime. This period has been characterized by growing unity in action against crime, a period focused on improving life conditions for all, especially the poor. We will work double hard to ensure this slight increase is rerouted to the downward trends that we experienced over the past 9 years. Attempted murder reduced by 51.7% over 9 years, 16.8% over the period of 4 years, and has increased by 6.5% during the past financial year. And in the main, the police diversion is one of the issues here, and the usage and abuse of alcohol and drug-related substances. Increase in aggravated robbery has reduced by 29.7% over 9 years, 18.7% during the past 4 years, and has increased by 1.2% over the past financial year. Increase in burglary non-residential. This has happened over 9 years, 1.9%, and it reduced by 2.4% over the past 4 years, and again increased by 1.7% during the past financial year. Increase in theft out of or from motor vehicle by 27.9% over 9 years, by 18% over 4 years, and by 3.6%, and has increased by 3.6% over the past financial year. The increase in commercial crime and fraud has reduced by 45.5% over 9 years, increased by 10.1% during the past 4 years, and further increased by 0.6% during the past financial year. Increase in car hijacking, 27% reduced over 9 years, 30% reduction during the past 4 years, and has increased by 5.4% during the past financial year. Increase in robbery at residential premises, 69% over 9 years, 9.5% over 4 years, 3.6% over the last financial year. The truck jacking increased by 4.7% over 9 years, reduced by 34.4% during the past 4 years, and then has increased by 14.9% during the past financial year. Increase in drugs-related crime ratio increased by 13% in the 2012-2013 financial year. Last year, during the release of crime statistics, we said drug trafficking is one of those areas which is everybody's concern. We emphasize that all must organize and mobilize community to work broader with the communities. And there's been increase in cases of drunken driving, which the ratio has increased by 1.5% over the past financial year. The diversion of police in policing public protest over the past 4 years, a total of 46,180 incidents were attended to, and all were successfully stabilized with 14,843 arrests effected. These include 41,101 peaceful protests with 5,076 unrest, such as Samu, Sakau, Lidorans, Marikana, Zamdela, and Ratanda, to mention but a few. During 2012-2013 alone, police managed 12,000 public incidents. Of these, 10,517 were peaceful and 1,882 were violent public protests, with a total of 693 various criminal cases reported. Most of the cases were reported in Western Cape and Northwest provinces. Currently stability has been restored. As indicated in the introductory remarks, culminatively, we are reducing crime, and this is happening against the population growth. As applied on the crime picture of South Africa, one can observe a typically rising population figures against the gradual reduction in crime and gradual reduction in recruitment of police officers, crime rates especially over the past 9 to 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the world as we know is changing and is now characterized by global influences that affect all economies globally. Crime is also a scourge that respects no borders or economies, as it affects all nations. South Africa is today working to position itself as the promising emerging market in the world. We are a combination of a well-developed business services support and dynamic investment environment with a number of global competitive advantages and opportunities. Despite the challenges we experience over the financial year under review, our efforts in crime reduction have been recognized locally and worldwide, in some cases even applauded. Investments continue to trickle in South Africa, and this is demonstrative of our admittance to the BRIC group of countries of Brazil, Russia, and India and China, now called BRICS since 2011. South Africa is the economic powerhouse of the African continent, with the GDP of 2.3 trillion rands, 4 times that the Southern African neighbors, and comprising of 30% of the entire GDP of Africa. The World Bank Group report Doing Business 2010 ranked South Africa 34 out of 183 economies in terms of the ease of doing business. The overall program of the national democratic transformation that our country has embarked upon will gradually eliminate some of the conditions that breed social crime. So shall our contribution to creating an environment of peace, stability, economic growth, and social development in the region, the continent, and the rest of the world. Whatever the setbacks of the moment, we charge all the compatriots and patriots of the SABS to selflessly continue with the commitment to serve and protect the vulnerable, whatever the difficulties and hurdles we may have experienced over the past year. SABS shall succeed in its endeavors, however improbable it may sound to the skeptics. Success is guaranteed. Collectively, we shall continue to ensure that South Africans are and feel safe. And I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. At this point in time, we'll request the National Commissioner of Police to give us an analysis or graphical demonstration in terms of the crime trends. And what we're going to do is to zoom into the screens at the back where we'll be showing the different graphs and what they mean in terms of the Minister's speech on crime reductions. Over to the National Commissioner.
Morning, are we ready with the back screen? If we could do that, then I'll be happy. Thank you. I'm going to need the space to be able to see the back screen. At least here, I'll use the one on this side. I need that back screen, yeah. Okay, all right. Let me start off by saying all protocol observed and say good morning to all of you. I just want to say to you, all of you will receive copies of what I'm presenting here. You'll get a memory stick so you don't have to frantically take your notes. We will give you the information so that you would be able to understand what we are busy with. This camera is a problem for me. this camera. No, this one, because it's tall, I can't see the screen. Okay, thank you very much. If you could just shift it for me. Let me start off by really thanking our minister for the presentation that he's given us and the elaborate elucidation that he's gone through in his speech. What I'm going to do is to give you a visual sort of a presentation of the message that he shared with you. And I'd like to say to you as I walk with you through this visual presentation that what I'm going to present to you today on behalf of SABC is a story of assurance and a story of confidence. When I look at the crime situation over the past 9 years,
As the biggest, the most extensive, diverse news organization and the best content provider of choice in Africa, we aim to offer the nation breaking news.
No doubt in my mind that the crime situation in the country is under control and that we continue to make good progress as a South African Police Service. We do, however, note a couple of challenges, particularly as already raised by the Minister, of some of the areas that are rearing their head for the first time. And as he said, that those areas we commit ourselves to reversing and to maintain the gains that are rearing their heads for the first time also in this regard. I will elaborate later with regards to some of the measures that we'll be taking and some of the areas that I'm referring to. As you may recall, I recently announced that there is a need for us to reorganize and streamline and in certain areas redefine responsibilities. I want each and every individual within SABC to be called on to account for delivery in their responsibilities. Because as a leader of this ship, that will be the basis upon which we come before the nation and account upon how we are delivering. We have a new leadership that was announced 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it is a leadership that is committed and focused on delivering on our core mandate. I stand before you to assure you that together with the leadership of SABC, we shall continue to promote this positive trend that we are reporting on today. If we are to break the back of crime, we cannot adopt a business-as-usual approach. As we analyze the main drivers of crime, it is clearly evident that there are many underlying contributory factors. These include alcoholism, drugs, unemployment, and the generally violent nature of our society, and many others, and all those you will start seeing the impact thereof in the statistics that we're announcing. Failure on our part and the part of the key stakeholders to address these contributory elements will significantly hamper progress in our fight against crime. I present these results, this detail, as was given by the Minister, the visual one, against the backdrop of some of these comments that I have mentioned. And I shall then invite you to join me on that screen as I touch on the various aspects of this presentation. A lot of the facts that you see there, the Minister has already mentioned, and I will move on to the next slide because that is just emphasis of some of the issues that we needed to raise as we deal with this announcement. I don't want to emphasize, in addition, before I just go to the reporting approach, the fact that where we are sitting as the leadership of SABC, we recognize that our approaches, our formulas, the manner in which we deal with urban policing, we seem to be making a lot of good progress. We would like to focus our eyes on rural policing, and we will be looking at enhancing the policies, the approaches that we are having at this point in time. The Minister has made reference to some of the policing partnerships that we are looking into and the stakeholder participation engagements that we are embarking upon. I want to single out one of those areas that we are hard at work on, the provincial crime prevention strategies that are led by the provincial governments. We've just launched the first one in Free State. The second one was launched recently in Northern Cape. We're looking at launching those throughout the other provinces because the provincial governments are saying we are creating a platform for all of you as stakeholders to join hands in fighting crime. And we're truly happy as police that such a platform is being created where all stakeholders that are involved in crime combating initiatives can work together. So we will be fully supporting the rollout of those provincial crime prevention strategies in all the provinces. I also would like to take this opportunity on behalf of our members to say we've experienced murders of police members and suicides continuously because those also contribute towards eroding our capacity to respond towards crime. And I shall elucidate when I give this presentation how those have affected us. Violent social behavior continues to prevail in a majority of serious crime categories, some of which persist to be stubborn and require collective effort so that we can deal with those. Let me just then move on straight to deal with the reporting approach, because I think it's important when you engage what we'll be distributing to you to understand the approach we have adopted in terms of reporting these statistics. Firstly, I want to say, crime being a social phenomenon, we are taking a longitudinal approach towards reporting crime. We report the in-year, but we also give you a perspective of the past 9 years. So as you would see on the presentation, we're talking about a 9-4-1 approach. The past 5, the whole 9 years, cut out into 5, 4, and 1 being the in-year. Secondly, as you can see in terms of that presentation, we adopt a crime ratio approach, which is an international standard, where you use a per capita population figure of 100,000. So when you see ratios, look at it from that particular perspective because it helps us to compare apple to apples when we compare ourselves with other countries. What we are dealing with today are what we call 20 serious crimes. And those 20 serious crimes are cut into those 5 categories, as you see them there: contact crimes, contact-related crimes, property-related crimes, other serious crimes, and crimes dependent on police detection. As we go on, I also explain how those 20 indicators are actually set out. In the 20 indicators, when you read the statistics, you'd note that of the 20 indicators, 17 are what we call community-reported serious crimes. That's the anatomy of crime that we're trying to give so that when you read our statistics, you are able to understand it. The top 17 are where community members come to us to report crimes. The bottom 3 that makes part of that 20 are police-detected serious crimes. And in terms of how you read the statistics, the 17 must in nature show a downward direction, and the 3 must show an upward trend. So you would be able to understand how we deal with the anatomy of crime. And I'm very glad that I'm seeing a number of research organizations starting to use this anatomy, because in public accounting we must make sure that the community understands how we account and the methodologies we are using so that they can follow whether we are progressing or not progressing. ISS, I've noticed that you are using this anatomy of crime, and I'm really appreciative of that. Let me also touch on this slide. which I call the domino effect. You will note that right at the bottom there, we talk about common assault, assault GBH, attempted murder, and murder. The common assault of today is the murder of tomorrow. And it is important for us in terms of where we invest our effort as policing to try and ensure that we don't get to the zenith of the crime. If prevention is strong and we're able to deal with common assaults, we would be able to reduce the assault, grievous bodily harm of tomorrow, or the attempted murder of tomorrow, or the murder of the other month. This is one area that we're looking into, and we believe that some of the outliers that we're seeing today are pushing us up into the zenith. We would like to invest quite a number of our energy down there in terms of ensuring that prevention, as they always say, is better than cure. Let's go on. The Minister has already touched on those key operational contexts to show that, and it was necessary for us to beam this for you to say, what's the context against which we are making this report? Our population statistics, the strength that we are having within SABC, the police population ratio, the vehicles that we are having, the number of stations that we are having. To those number of stations, I'd like you to add 240 additional points, which could be contact points, our mobile points, mobile service points. So in addition to the 1,135 police stations, you can add the 240 additional points that we are using to service the nation. What then follows there, when you see it in your own documents, is the breakdown of those vital statistics by province, so that you can analyze what is happening in the province against the backdrop of those vital statistics. Let's go on. This is our story, ladies and gentlemen. The story of the success of crime intervention in this country. That's a 9-year highlight. When you take those 4 key areas of serious crimes, excluding the detection by the police, you can see that over the 9 years, police have done a lot of good work. And this is why I talk about a story of confidence. It is the summary of this slide that tells you how SABC has performed over the 9 years. As you can see, in terms of overall contact crimes, over the 9-year period, we've managed to reduce contact crimes by 38.2% over the 9-year period. When you take the 4-year period, we have reduced that by 16%. And in the in-year, we continue to reduce overall contact crimes. And remember that you have subcategories. But overall, the contact crimes have shown a progressive decline. And that's the story of hope and consistency and inspiration that I'm talking about when I talk about the performance of SABC. On contact-related crime, the story of confidence and consistency continues. We reduced overall in that category in the 9 years by 32.4% over the 9 years, and in the 4-year period by 16.1%, and even in the current year, we continue the overall trend that is downward facing. In property-related crimes, we've achieved partially because we reduced over 9 years by 24.8%. We reduced in 4 years 1.4%. It is the only area where we're seeing overall a slight increase of 1.7%. And as the Minister has said, in those areas, we would like that area also to be black, and we're putting all our efforts into that. In terms of other serious crimes, we have reduced by 36.5% over a period of 9 years. Over a period of 4 years, we've reduced by 11.4%. And in the current year, we've reduced overall by 5.3%. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say to you, this is the story of SABC over the past 9 years. And this is a story that tells us that the significant investments that the Minister was talking about have yielded for this nation. And we as members of SABC continue to commit ourselves to ensure that we maintain these gains, we fight that which is stubborn, we deal with the challenges that are being presented to us. And on that note, I'd like to say to my colleagues in SABC, thank you very much for your very intensified efforts and contributions towards this. Let's go on. Now let me move on to the current year. There's a slide, that is a depiction of, just go back, that's the graphic depiction of the 9 years. You can see that gradient. It continues to face south, and you can see that we continue to decrease. The other one, that what you will see, in all the indicators, you will have the performance of the indicator, you will have the graphic representation, and you will see the contribution by each of the provinces to that particular indicator. And when you look at the contribution of the provinces, you will see that if it's white in color, it shows that all of them have managed to achieve a decrease. And if it's red in color, it shows that there could be a problem in that province. So overall, if you look at that map, you will see that all the provinces over the 9 years have contributed towards the success story that we're talking about. Let's continue. Now let me shift to this current year. That slide is meant to show you that, it gives you the 17 indicators. The greens that are facing down, it shows you that in those green areas, we have managed to progressively reduce crime. The ones that are red, the 7 red that are going up, are some of the new ones that the Minister has mentioned in terms of shooting in. And I'd like to significantly mention the 2 ones, because those are new introductions, murder and the whole issue of attempted murder. So, and it will always be a swing depending on circumstances. So this is the performance in the in-year in terms of what we're doing. We're proud of what we're seeing there, and we continue to be committed to struggle with all the other areas that you're seeing there, and you'll see that in your presentation. As I go into this area, I'm now giving an analysis of the various 17 areas. Where you see green, that's where we have done well and we have maintained. Where you see yellow, that's where we are saying these are new indicators that have had a new upswing that we didn't have previously. Where you see red, that's where we have persistent crimes that remain stubborn, that gives us not a consistent outcome. Sexual offences, as the Minister has said, are showing that type of reduction. We reduced by 10.9 over the 9 years, 12.3 over 4 years, and reduced, just play it all out so that we can quickly move through this presentation. Members have that. Common assault GBH also shows progressive reduction. Even in the current year, we continue with a 6.6 reduction. Common assault is doing the same thing. Let's continue. Common robbery, all other theft, shoplifting, and thanks to the South African Consumer Goods Council for their support and their sharing of their statistics in this area. We continue to show our successes in terms of the additional 4 that makes up the 10, where I said in the in-year we continue to be green. So as you can see, all the ones, the 10 that you've seen, have progressively given us a reduction over the 9 years that is being reported. You have this in your presentations that we will be distributing. These are upswings, and these yellows are saying these are the new areas that have reared their heads this year. You can put them up. Murder, attempted murder, you can see that all those areas have been green. For this year, they've given us an upswing, and the Minister has clearly articulated some of the reasons that have come in there. And I'm hoping that when you read his speech, you'll also see how we articulated some of the reasons there. Let's go on. This represents what we call persistent crimes. You can see that the performance there is checkered. Where we have had some reduction, we've put it in red there. But ordinarily, these are what we consider very stubborn crimes. We continue to wrestle with them, and we hope that in time we will be able to conquer them too. Trio crimes is just to share with you, these are already reported earlier on. It's a combination of crimes that we've already reported in the 17 that we've mentioned, but this is how trio crimes have performed, because they are seen as, you know, those crimes that are very close to the individual, and we would like to measure ourselves in terms of how they are performing, and you can see also again there a very checkered performance, but we are also focusing on them continuously. Other robberies, that's when we go into the details of subcategories. We just thought it would be important for you to show you some of the successes that we've had, and this shows the strength of police partnerships. Robbery of cash in transit, indeed, as well as bank robberies. Our relationship with SABC has helped us a lot in terms of pulling our energies together. Our joint thought leadership in this area has continuously given us those successes. And one can also indicate that at some point we are also even feeling very optimistic that some of them may be obsolete. We've done very well in those areas, and I'd like to thank those police partners that have just assisted us there. The bottom one, truck hijacking, is a challenge for us because there's an increase, there's a reduction, there's an increase. And we're looking at all dimensions of that one, both looking at the drivers from outside and also checking ourselves as police to say, could there be other internal drivers that are making this area to be stubborn? So it's an area that we're giving quite some significant attention to. We see it as a challenge that requires to be looked into much more intensely. The highlights the Minister has already touching on some of the highlights that we wanted to share with you around the liquor that we've confiscated and all those type of things. Yesterday I was in Western Cape and I visited our warehouses where Western Cape confiscate liquor. And I think one day, if you have an opportunity, phone the Provincial Commissioner of Western Cape. Go and visit that warehouse. It is a very huge warehouse. And when I looked at the amount of liquor that was stored there, I was asking myself, just the cost to the economy, for those who buy this liquor illegally, for us to collect it and store it. And when we talk about drivers of crime, you will understand what we mean by saying alcohol abuse, illegal trading of that substance is very, very challenging and contributes quite significantly to some of the crimes that we're reporting here today. The Minister has reported on those, and you'll find those key highlights in your presentation for your ease of reference. These are some of the drug seizures. The Minister has also mentioned those. Engage those figures in the information that we'll be sharing with you. I want to focus a little bit on this slide because I've been talking ratios. This is more just to say, you know, how do we validate those ratios? And here we give you raw figures because we're saying to you, even if you take the raw figures, the story is the same. It's a story of inspiration, it's a story of success. If you take that slide and look at it and say the year we started really tracking our performance, which is 2004-5, our population was 46 million, around there. And we compare it with 2012-2013, where our population has grown to 52 million plus some hundreds. If you take those raw figures and just take some of the indicators that we've listed, you have the ratios thereof. You take MEDA. In 2004, MEDA was about, we were having a MEDA rate of about 18,793. It has reduced. As we report now, our MEDA rate is about 16,259. You take total sexual offenses. In 2004, we were recording 69,117. It has gone down. we are recording now 66,387 in terms of raw figures. You take assault with the intent to inflict grievous bodily harm, we were reporting 249,369. We are reporting today 185,893. You take common assault, we were reporting 267,857. We are now reporting 172,909. Robbery with aggravating circumstances, we were reporting 126,789. We are now reporting 105,888. Common robbery, we were reporting 90,825. We are now reporting 53,540. This is what we call a scissors effect. When the population goes high, crime continues to go down. And there is no better efficiency about what SABC has delivered than this one. I was just wanting to corroborate our ratios to show you some of the raw figures, which you will have in your own presentation to reflect upon. But I want to say this for me is again a further corroboration of the confidence and the inspiration we continue to gather as SABC as we deliver our remit of ensuring that this country is safe and secure. This you will have in your slides. I will not go through. It's just what I will call the graphic presentation of the same data that I've presented. You can flip through and walk with us. Just flip, walk through those slides, and then maybe let me just explain a bit to say, again, we'll give you the graph. We'll show you how the province has done. Red means not positive, white means positive. So as you go through the material, read it in that manner. What we would also add here are the actual figures, which you will not see in this slide, but in your sticker, you'll be able, in your memory stick, you'll be able to get the graph, the provincial performance, as well as the ratio figures by province, so that you can be able to analyze what has gone on here. And we will also include in your memory stick the raw figures for your own analysis. But ordinarily, you can see the story that I'm telling you. If you look at this graphs, what we continue to experience is a decline. I'd like you to move to where we deal with public order policing, because I want to. Let's first deal with, let's go to public order policing. Okay, there we are. In the past 17 years, as SABC, we've handled almost 152,000 public order issues. What we are giving you there is a comparison for that period that is there. If you look at on average, we're handling over 12,000 public order issues. And what you can see there is that most of them are peaceful. And even when they are peaceful, we as police are there because we respect the right of every citizen to protest publicly. We must make sure that they get the permission to do so. We must make sure that we pave the way for them. We support them. We invite other partners to ensure that the roads are cleared, they can pass through. We work with their marshals to ensure that their protests are given the necessary support that they need. The red ones show you areas where the protests have not been peaceful. And what you can see there is that there is a trend line of growth of the non-peaceful unrest. So that requires of us to change our gear to ensure that we prop up our public order policing resourcing, both in terms of human capacity, in terms of our vehicles, in terms of whatever else that is required there. because if we don't do that, then we are having visible policing constraints because we have to take some of the police to go and support our public order policing. And this is what the minister has been saying. I'm just putting up that slide to show that it's an area of concern that we are looking into. But I also want to underscore what the minister has said. One thing I can tell you, and that you can note, is that it doesn't matter whether it's Amdela or Piet or deterrence. One thing that is sure is that police will intervene and police will restore stability. And that's the beauty of our public order policing. And that also gives us inspiration and strength that we have the capacity to keep this country stable. The next slide is about the map to see how the provinces have contributed to that public order policing. It is in your slide. You can analyze it at your own time. These ones are the ones that I said, those are the 3 areas that are contributed by the police because we have to detect and make sure that we drive them up. Those are the firearms. We continue to confiscate a lot of firearms. Responsible citizens approach us to submit the firearms that they no longer want, and that continues to assist us to deliver on this one. The one thing we do not know is how many of these firearms are out there in society, so we focus on actuals when we deal with this one. The next one. Drug-related, the minister has reported on those. You can see the graph continues to go up, and it's an area that we are also giving primary attention to. Driving under the influence, again, is another area that we focus on. Ours here is law enforcement. When we are told what level you should not have in your blood system, and we check and we find that it is not the right level, then we law enforce as the police. The last part of our presentation that you will find is the contribution by the various police stations. And it is not the crime weight that you are seeing here. It's sheer volumes to say of the 1.8 million reported serious crimes, how did the top 50 police stations contribute towards that? So it's a volume view. You will get it in your presentation, and it shall be able to help you go through what we've seen. As I conclude, let me conclude by pointing out that protests, as I've already indicated, continue to be a major challenge, and we are consuming our resources and introducing a lot of visible policing constraints. We're looking at that, and we're seeking to remedy that area. Furthermore, our crime combating and prevention efforts, as I've indicated, show good success in terms of our methodology and our innovative interventions in the urban areas. So we will be looking at rural areas for that. We are also, as we go forward, going to be looking at qualitative analysis of the primary factors that are driving violent crime, including murder, attempted murder, and what we can do about some of those findings. And as we do so, we take into account some of the research that has been done before, but we'll be embarking on further research to deal with this matter. We cannot emphasize the importance of partnerships. The minister has mentioned that, and we're truly grateful for those that are assisting us. I'm a firm believer in the fact that someone, some way, somehow, knows something about crime in the community. Acting on such knowledge is pivotal for our success. Bring it to us, and we will act on it. Views continue to be raised about the authenticity of our crime statistics. SABC is hard at work to ensure that we achieve a level of statistical reporting that optimally meets validity tests. And as part of that, as part of our interventions, I am glad to say that we will soon enter into a memorandum of understanding with Stats SA. This will enable us to enhance our current statistical reporting, as well as to match convincingly towards optimal reporting levels. I will invite you as the media when we sign such an MOU, and we will then at that point in time share details of this relationship and how we wish to take things forward. I take this opportunity to thank our Minister for his leadership and strategic guidance, as well as expressing our appreciation to our Deputy Minister and all strategic entities in the Department of Police that assist us in doing our work. I also wish to thank the Portfolio Committee, in particular Ms. Annelies van Wyk, for their oversight role. I know that as media, you know, half the time you want to reflect our relationship with the Portfolio Committee as adversarial. I want to say to you, I do not believe it is adversarial. It is necessary for the Portfolio Committee, for their leadership, to be robust, to advise us, because when they do so, we continuously improve and we become better offerers of the services that we're supposed to be giving. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you all for being here, and I want to say to us, the men and women in blue, we continue to be committed. I will let you look at the last slide as I thank the men and women in blue, to say to you, what remains a challenge for us is that as we render our services, it is a very traumatizing, a very demanding role. Just go to the next one. Here we just show you, it doesn't look very visible, but you'll see it in your whatever. The top one shows you that we continue to lose a lot of members in terms of road accidents during their doing their job. We also have suicides as a contributing factor, as well as murders of police during their work. So I want to put that before you to say, as I thank the men and women in blue for their effort, I also realize that they also lay their lives for this country. I thank you very much, and we look forward to even better performance in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, General. We'll now move to the question and answer session, and I know there's a lot of interest both locally and international. So what we'll do is just to request if you can just ask one question in order to accommodate others. If I can see with an indication of show of hands, if there are any, jeez. Okay, we'll move from this side and then we'll move to the, yourself, sir, and then Tula Sizwe. Is there any hand on my right? Okay, Tula Sizwe. Alex, you'll be the third one. Can't see clear. And then Crime. In that order, please. Please mention your name and your name of the organization that you work for the benefit of the public.
Franz Wild from Bloomberg. Commissioner, Minister, could you just clarify a little bit regarding the change in the murder rate? There was an increase of 0.6%. Is that an increase in the rate? And what is the rate as measured as per 100,000 in the population? And can you also just explain, I mean, I know in the 9 years there's been a decrease, but just over the last year, what accounts for that increase?
Okay, thanks, Franz. Tula Sizwe, if you can kindly use the microphone in front of you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Tula Sizwe from ENCA. I've got a question each for the Minister and the Commissioner. And the question for the Commissioner is linked to the question that has already been asked. When we are saying that there's a slight increase in the murder rate, and last year we said in the factors that contributed to murder, we counted assault as contributing about 65%. This year we are seeing a decline in assault, but we are seeing an increase in murder. A lot of these contact crimes are down, but murder is going up. Where are these murders coming from? What are the factors at play in this slight increase we are seeing? And then a question for the Minister. Minister, I see that this is my observation, that there seems to be an emphasis on the long term over the last 9 years. Is this an attempt to get us to focus on that as opposed to the real setbacks that we have seen in the inner year of this long term that we're talking about? Thank you.
Alex from Eyewitness News.
think that's it. Thanks. Alex, Eyewitness News. Two questions for me, please. For
Alex, with all due respect, can you just stick to one, because I think there's so many people who still want to ask, with all due respect. Press that. Alex?
Sorry. We're looking at this year, and there's increases in the major crimes, murder, attempted murder, house robberies, hijackings. Just in terms of looking at next year, what will be done differently? You talk about this business can't be as usual, but what will you do differently next year? And can we expect better stats next year? I know it's always difficult to predict, but what do you mean when you say that you will do something differently in your next year of office?
Thank you. We'll take the last one from Graham.
Graham Hoskin, to both the Minister and to the National Police Commissioner. The crimes that we've seen increases in, include house robbery, hijackings. These obviously form part of the trio crimes that years ago we saw special teams established to address these crimes. Will we be seeing such initiatives again to specifically address and focus on these crimes, given the violent assaults that are behind them?
Okay. Graham, can you repeat the question?
I said the crimes that we've seen increases in include what the Minister and what the Police Commissioner described as trio crimes, the hijackings, the house robberies, business robberies. In the past, there were teams at each police station or in each policing cluster. Are we going to see these teams being put together again? What is going to be done to address the violence behind these crimes? Because a lot of the crimes that are going up involve severe violence. Can the Minister or the Police Commissioner explain what initiatives are going to be done to address the violence behind these crimes?
Okay. All right, thanks. I'll now hand over to the Minister to respond to Franz, Tula Sizwe, and perhaps cover a part of Alex, and then the National Commissioner will come afterwards. Yeah, I think we can move.
Perhaps the last question on the trio crimes, just to say that the last subcategory of crime, which is non-residential or business, has shown positive reaction on the trio crime.
You can afford a lawyer, a good one. From only 140 rands per month, you and your family can have access to superior legal services 24 hours a day.
Whether it is a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter,
we are available 24 hours a day.
Our nationwide panel of professional attorneys are standing by to assist you.
The matter has been settled out of court.
SMS GOOD to 42770 and we'll call you back. SMS
the sector policing and police visibility. Now, you would know that for the past 3 years, we've scaled down in recruiting, particularly on that, because these happen within communities. What has been proven to be best in dealing with them, and even in areas where there have been successes, has been the visibility of police. We want to intensify this mobile policing, mobile stations, if you like, because that in itself would in a way mitigate between the actual capital projects of building police stations in areas and the availability and visibility of police from that point of view. So it's not more on the teams, more than on the plannings, or on the planning insofar as that is concerned. Well, this is linked to what Alex was asking, that we want to steal from those areas where we've succeeded and see what is it that has been done. For instance, if you have noticed last year areas like business has been a big problem. Areas like rural safety, stock theft, and so on has been problematic as well. So we are looking at how do we sharpen our focus in these particular areas, because you would know that part of the problem with crime, with different types of crime, if there is a specific focus in one particular crime, there is a tendency of crime being displaced in that way. So we are looking to that, including what we've said about the trio crimes here and going forward. Would leave others which we do normally with our partners and so on. We're not focusing the public on long term, but it's important to track where we come from all the time. It's what we introduced last year to look longitudinally on how has the trend been going on and going forward, what is happening and in the current space. Because if we were to focus on the long term, we were not going to be raising an issue about what is happening currently. So it covers the entire period, the entire nine-year period. The issue about the murder. The past 2 to 3 years, we've seen, and it's not only in South Africa, and we've shared the notes on this, we've seen the increase in public protests. Whether you're in Asia or you're in Europe or in the Americas, there is that specific thing of public protest spiraling. And as we interact with our counterparts, what has been different from our side is that ours has been characterized by and large by violence. And we have extended this even in the past to our research partners to zoom into this unique, random and violent nature of crime in South Africa. Because as far as we know, and as far as the body of evidence in front of us, we have not been comparing ourselves with any other country. So that has diverted police from the core policing and operational matters to look into this whole thing. If there are protests in a particular area, normal policing and police who are doing other work have to be diverted to that. And that has, to a certain degree, created some loopholes insofar as that is concerned. If you look at the strength we have now on the public order policing, firstly, you would know that we have reintroduced this just a few years ago, the public order policing unit. And after introducing it, we have noticed that with the volume of protest, we need to have even more police dedicated, particularly in public order policing. And the trend in these murders have been by and large happening around areas or outlets selling liquor, both legally and illegally. Has been other drivers of crime, including drug abuse, has been around labor unrest, which have escalated over the past few years. So we would say that, comparatively speaking, this upsurge in public protest has had a very direct impact on the police. And you would know that for about a decade, we have been recruiting members of SABC in the region of 8,000 to 10,000. But as I said, we've scaled that down because of the economic situation in the country. And that in itself has not been enough to respond, and we would have about 2,000 or 3,000 per annum recruitment of police officers. That whilst we fare comparatively well with our international counterparts on the person-to-police ratio, but there are extra measures we need in South Africa because it's not your normal policing. There's a lot of violence which accompanies that particular policing and crime in South Africa.
Thank you, Minister Mthethwa. I want you to read the raw figures of murder, because when you look at the raw figures, you get, and the ratio, you will see that there is a slight reduction even in there. But when you go to ratios, it does certain things. If you are able to take us there, Mthethwa, where you are, and read us the raw figures of murder, but when we convert that into ratios, it does certain things. But in terms of the raw figures, there is a slight decrease in terms of that. Okay. Whilst it's doing that, you've asked what we are going to do differently. There are a number of initiatives that we've already started implementing in terms of dealing with some of these issues. I have indicated to all of you that, number one, we are starting to work very closely with the provincial government, bringing all the stakeholders together to work around issues of crime, because crime can never be a policing matter alone. It is a national issue. It requires all of us to have our hands on deck. And this is why we appreciate quite profoundly the leadership of the provincial governments in creating a platform where all of us can have an opportunity to play. We will be participating in the rollout of those provincial crime strategy initiatives. We've also looked at other areas that are hotspots in terms of increasing our crime statistics. The labor, mining, industrial environments are also doing that. We've launched in Northwest the Mining Crime Combating Forum, the very first one. We're rolling out those to various areas. I know in the coming months we're rolling out some, one in Limpopo, one in Free State. I'm sure Mpumalanga will also be coming on board. So those are some of the forums where we are saying, who are the role players in this area and can we work together? We've started seeing that yielding in Rustenburg. You would know that we've already, long time ago, as SABC, established what we call the provincial crime combating forums, which are led by the provincial commissioners, where they monitor on the beat the crime stats that comes from the various clusters in the provinces. That shall continue because on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, those forums are taking place because they monitor and track crime. You would also be aware that we are continuing with our sector policing initiatives to ensure that we analyze our profiles of the various areas and understand and work on a close basis with the issues that are coming out of those areas. The Minister has touched on releasing the constraints on visible policing by ensuring that those police that are there to do normal policing are available to continue doing those. Issues around alcohol, what I have been telling you, for instance, what I saw yesterday, we'll continue to do confiscation and would like to work with the municipalities for their bylaw implementation, because they must make sure that out there, these shebeens that are licensed, they close at a particular time so that there are no all-night parties in those shebeens, which then lead us to some of the crimes that we are seeing. Those that are unlicensed, they should also be dealt with. For lack of time, I could have shown you, for instance, a map of the concentration of shebeens in Bloemfontein alone. You would see that, and those are licensed, never mind the unlicensed one. So if we don't participate and work with those that are licensing these trading facilities and ensure that the municipalities are enforcing their bylaws, there is no way that we will be able to win alone as police. So those are some of the things that we would be doing, but the list is endless, and we'll be looking at a number of those. And the whole issue of root cause analysis, we are at the end of the pipeline. But within the pipeline, we must work with the stakeholders to deal with those root cause analysis aspects. So, Menziwe, I don't know if you're ready with your raw numbers. Otherwise, I can give them in the next round when you've taken your questions. Okay. You can take the next round. I'll share the raw figures. Yeah.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, General. Can we get another set of questions? Alex will have to give us a chance. I've noted you, ma'am. I think that's one. Right at the back, I think it's Annalise. And then on my left, yes, you'll be the third one. Can we take two more? Wait. Oh, sorry. Yes, Joe, you'll be the fourth one. And the last one at the back, let's give it to a lady and empower women. Okay, you'll be the last one, sir. In that order, ma'am.
Thank you, Amanda Watson from The Citizen. There have been a number of unsavory incidents involving police officers in recent times. What are we doing about training, upgrading training, getting police officers trained up to know what they should be doing and not what they shouldn't be doing?
Okay, thank you. The second one. Okay, the second question. I think I've noted. Okay, Annalise.
Annalise Kempen from Savannah Safety and Security magazine. I'm not sure who's going to address it, either the Minister or the Commissioner. There's been quite a significant increase in truck hijacking, and we all know that it also impacts on the economy of the country in terms of cargo and valuables and so on. Is the police or the ministry looking towards some kind of a MOU? I'm not aware of anything. If there is, maybe they can just elaborate on it. With somebody in the transport industry, because we've seen the successes with the banking industry, SABC and so on. So are they looking at something similar? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. There was a hand on my left. I think there was a gentleman. Yes, please go.
Hi, Charles Duplessis from City Press. Mr. Minister, in the past, this conference has been told that the murder rate was the best indicator of the crime situation in the country. And I was just wondering, how seriously are the police taking this, what appears to be kind of a deflection in the trend? And also, if you could please take us to those raw numbers, because from my sums, it looks like there's actually been an increase in the raw murders of 350 over the last reported period. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. Joe?
Joe Minnick for ENCA. This is a question for the Commissioner. Some people claim not to report crimes to the SAPS. Is this taken into consideration when compiling the crime stats? And is crime not being reported, recognized as an issue by the SAPS?
We do take it seriously. Can we take the last question? I think there was a hand at the back. There was a gentleman. Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
Hi, Philip De Wet from the Mail and Guardian. There appears to have been a national and quite sharp increase in public violence incidents. Can you give us a sense of how much of the other crime upticks are associated with that, please?
Okay. Thank you. Minister, if I can hand over to the Minister and then the National Commissioner. Oh, you have to. Okay.
Okay, there's a question around issues of training. Indeed, we take training very seriously. As you would know, we have something like 24 academies that are available to train our police at a base level. There are refresher training and all those other aspects. We're also looking at even topping up that environment by looking at executive, senior, or heightened training, if I may call it, to heighten our training efforts. We take it very seriously. and we continue throughout the process as you ask the question to say, what do we do? Let me try and pump up my voice because I can see that something is off here. Okay. There's life. As I've been saying, we really invest a lot in our training, and you ask the question to say, do we invest our efforts in making sure that the police should know what they should do and know what they should not do? Indeed, that's one area that we're starting to focus in, and I'm sure General Mbekele at some point one day will just have a full briefing to the media to give you, a lowdown of our training. Indeed, those refresher courses are important because we teach you how to arrest and how not to arrest. So those issues we continue to train our members on. The issue around truck hijacking. We face a number of challenges in terms of that area because unless we also in this area achieve some partnership policing aspects, we may not individually be able to conquer this. Because in some of the instances, the modus operandi is that, the truck driver would collude with the criminals to hand over the cargo, and nobody gets injured. We would not, get the truck, but the cargo would not be there. So we need to look at partnerships. The MOU you are talking about probably is one of the things that we need to look into to say, how do we work together to achieve those? In some of the instances, you may find that there could be maybe some of our members who are also colluding. So we need to look at all those things and make sure that we find ways of cracking this truck hijacking issue. Because again, I see a number of trucks in the evening, most of them, we are studying those spots to say which routes. Most of them would not be traveling after hours, after 12, they would park together. So we need to look at exploiting further those opportunities for safety, for truck jacking, and ensure that we bring some of these trends down. The murder rate on serious crime, the raw data that I shared longitudinally did show that decline that I'm talking about. You're right that in terms of the in-year, I said it is spiking, and it is for the first time that it is doing that. And some of the reasons that have been given are very clear. We have mentioned issues around alcohol and substance abuse. We've mentioned socioeconomic circumstances, because if you go again to Western Cape and start saying, where are most of these matters coming from? You're going to find them in Nyanga, you're going to find them in Langa, you're going to find them in Guguletu. And that talks to the socioeconomic conditions of that particular environment. So this is why one has said the stakeholders are critical to actually come on board. We have to improve the living condition of members, their lighting conditions. If you go to the station in Guguletu and look at the darkness in which members have to walk just to get to the train in the morning by 4 a.m., you start realizing that there are problems there. And we can, with partnerships with the municipality, we can find, all those high mass lights, illuminating that place to reduce the rapes, to reduce the murders, to reduce the theft that is taking place. So that there's a lot that we have to do. We can arrest as police, but we can also be assisted by the partners to ensure that policing is made easy for us. You raised an issue around members that are not reporting crime to SABC. I'll just want to say once more. It is my belief, and I believe that the belief of my organization, that someone, somewhere, somehow knows something about crime, and we would really gladly appreciate your reporting that crime, because together we can do more to squeeze crime, and we can make a difference in this country.
All right. Thanks, General. We'll now move to the second last round. I've noted you, ma'am. One, and then Abraham at the back. And then gentleman next to you will be the fourth one. Can you get new hands, perhaps, because I see Philip and... You haven't been answered? Okay, what was the question? Public violence.
Public violence?
What was the question, Philip?
The question was, there seems to have been a national and rather large increase in public violence. I'm interested to know how that affected other crimes. In other words, are upticks in other categories attributable to instances of public violence?
Okay.
Well, public violence, as you know, would go with things like arsons, damage to property, sometimes common robbery and common crimes. And perhaps as reflected in the statistics, there has been the showing of that. But you'd also realize that other serious crimes like murder, sometimes some of this public violence lead to that, and the statistics would cover that.
Okay. Okay. I think, yeah, let's take the next round. Over to you, ma'am. If you can utilize the microphone, please. Is it not working? Okay. No, it's fine. I think you can speak up. We can hear you. Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Polly from Build Newspaper. I wonder, why did you choose Stats SA as a forum? Wouldn't the Auditor General be a better forum? Now stats can be audited instead of just being checked, especially in light of the recent misgivings regarding Stats SA. And then the second question to General Pliega, she hammered on public and private sector buying in and assisting the police and helping the police fight crime. Wouldn't the increase in have up-to-date stats instead of stats being 6 months to a year old?
Okay. May I kindly reiterate that you can ask only one question so that you accommodate others? Abraham?
I've seen there is a category where 50 stations...
Abraham, wait a second. I think, ma'am, from BL, if you can kindly repeat your question, the first part, about the Statistics South Africa involvement and...
Why did you choose Stats SA as a forum and not the Auditor General? I wonder, because now our stats will be checked and not audited.
Okay. Abraham?
Okay, I'm Abraham Mashik from TNA Media. I want to know, I've seen that there is 50 stations that have been selected as the ones that are contributing to crime. What action will be taken?
Okay. And the gentleman next to you?
My name is Nazir Nur Mohammed from the Media Group. It's a given, it's accepted that public participation or community participation is very important. Yet, in your reports, there's nothing mentioned about police reservists, the role they play. For example, deaths of police reservists, personnel, how many police reservists are involved, CPFs, how does CPFs work, or do they play an important role in fighting crime?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
There's been a couple of incidents over the past year or so that have decreased, you might say, trust and police sentiment in the general public. And I just wanted to ask what initiatives the police force is going to do to try and get back the trust from the public, and whether this is an important factor that is being considered, as well as if there are any statistics with regards to police brutality and whether increased or decreased over the past year, whether that was an area that was looked into.
Okay, thanks. General, if you can.
I may have missed some of the questions, but let me attempt. The Minister has dealt with the public violence matter. The issue of murder, whether we included other subcategories. You would recall that when I mentioned the issue of the anatomy, I spoke about contact crimes, and under that I said there are subcategories, and within those subcategories, there are subcategories of those, subcategories of those. So what you see is a rolled up figure. So when you look into the details and the numbers, you may find that, but if you still don't find those, the inquests and all those are included in that murder, category. We may not have given specifics, but those specifics are available should you want to further make inquiries of the sub categories. Stats SA. What we are reporting are statistics. We work with the Auditor General in terms of, the Auditor General auditing our performance. So whatever we do with Stats SA would still be subject to auditing of the AG, but internationally, there are ISO indicators that actually assess how your validity in terms of reporting works. And Stats SA, is one hub that would be able to assist us in this regard. They are chosen specifically for that particular input that they're going to give us. And as I've said, I shall invite this media when we sign that memorandum, and we will share even more details for you to appreciate the difference between Stats SA and the AG. There was a question about the stations. What actions are we going to take? Let me again reiterate why we have those stations there. I have said to you, we're not talking about crime weight, we're talking about volumes, to say of the number of serious crimes that we're reporting upon this year, what has been the contribution of the various stations. And let me step aside and say to you, I've spoken to you about the provincial crime combating forums. It is in those forums that the PCs, and together with their deputy provincial commissioners, the cluster commanders, the station commanders, intensely interrogate this type of statistic and make sure that those police stations focus on the challenges that they are having. So there is a lot of action that goes into that, because this is management information, and we need to use this management information to chart and carve our interventions and our responses as SABs. So that's the action that we are taking. The issue of police reservists, I did not itemize the stakeholders as I was talking. Here and there I touched on the stakeholders. Community policing forums remain very crucial to our work. They are one of the most critical stakeholders. And so are the reservists, because these are community members who have their full-time work in most instances and are willing to spare some time to assist the nation in securing safety and community. They remain very critical. I have been meeting with the visible policing, where they are refreshing that policy, that regulation, and so that we can make it very clear and that we can allow community volunteers to continue to assist us in fighting crime. I have said that fighting crime can never be the job of police alone. So all those stakeholders play a very critical role, and General Mutiba, General Pinar, and all of them are hard at work ensuring that our policy is sound, is engageable, and is encouraging of members to come forward, to come and assist us. There's an issue that has been raised around trust in the police. I think one thing I want to mention is that the job that we do has that dichotomous type of feeling that it evokes in one. When you are in want and things are not okay, you need a police near you. That's the first thing that you think of. But also, there are circumstances that may lead one to think that, you know what, these are not good people to relate with. We as police, our responsibility is to be able to live with that dichotomy and be able to manage it actively. And we are hoping that in time, beyond the statistics, we can start working on the softer issues that are not managed by statistics, increasing the trust equity in terms of our offerings and our services. It's a journey. You can never have it as an event. We will continue to work on that, and we take note of the sentiments and the issues that have been raised or continue to be raised in this regard. Thank you.
But in instances where there is confidence in police, because there is no generalization of lack of confidence in police everywhere. In instances where there is confidence in police is when the partnership between the police and the community has been strengthened. It goes to an extent of members of the public whom we engage with on a continuous basis to also identify to us some of the cops who would be said to be rotten cops within SABS. They would also tell us about members of SABS whom they are working well with. In other instances, they would even be calling for some of the people who may have been redeployed from where they were before when these people experienced this. So I'm saying that one dimension has been this one of working closely with the communities and community structures who have a lot whom we are indebted to in whatever success we may be calling upon or mentioning in the police. Just one other thing on the trackjacking, that we have said that the organized crime from our side, which is DPCI, should actually look very closely into this matter, because as the Commissioner has said, that this is organized crime, highly organized, a lot of information sharing by people who are working for those companies and so on. So it is important that we strengthen our ways, whether through suggestions, which has come here, of MOUs as we have with the banking sector and the consumer sector and so on. It's things we need to look into. Just additional on the matter, there are multiple factors on that. There still is a need for society to converse on the nature of crime in South Africa, because unless we deal with the violent nature of crime in South Africa and come to the understanding on this, would always be coming back to this thing. So the murder would be accompanied by that if somebody go and steal something or break somebody's house, it doesn't end there. People would wait for occupants of those houses, hurt and harm them. But also, we've emphasized the point that we've seen the proliferation, and continues so, of these outlets, both legal and illegal liquor outlets. And if you look at one of the graphs there, has shown that some of the murders start by arguments, followed by some common assault, GBH, attempted murder, and it's murder. And these are some of the issues which we need to look into. We have specifically looked at the issue of small business strategy, which involve your spaza shops and so on. And this part we are also hopeful as we interact with our counterparts that at the local government and from DTI, we know a lot of work is being done in addressing these things. Because part of the problem is that anybody anywhere else in the world can just walk in South Africa and start business. And that's it. Nothing much would be needed from you, license or whatever and so on. But from the point of view of liquor, we want this small business strategy to touch also on that and ensure that people who are involved understand that it's a matter which needs local government, which needs COCTA general, which needs DTI and everybody else, so that law enforcement would be done based on particular laws and particular policies. Because if people just run these liquor outlets, and we have seen they are the major driver of crime, just run them and there are no limitations on them, it's not going to be helping us. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. I think, if you allow me, you can take the last round of questions and then we can wrap up. So if there are any... Okay. Offense. Okay. Yourself, sir. You'll be the third one, ma'am. Fourth, fifth, sixth. And then we'll wrap up. In that order, please.
Offenses team on SABC TV News. To the Minister, there's been a constant success on crimes such as ATM bombing, ATM bombing, bank robberies, and cash in transit heists. What can be copied from the strategy that was used to counter these crimes on other crimes which are described as stubborn crimes, which are always popping up year after year?
Okay. Franz, was it you? Okay. Okay.
Franz, Bloomberg again. So just a reminder, please, we really would like the murder rate still, to know what that is. And secondly, the men who were shot dead by police on August 16th, 2012, in Marikana, how are they classified? Are they part of these crime stats in any way, or how do they account for?
Okay. Yes.
My question about the increase in the release of crime stats has not been answered. I just want to ask if we can expect it, and if you think it might help to curb violence and crime in South Africa.
Can I understand? You mean for next year? You mean the increase for next year?
You want us to predict?
Yeah, I think it might be difficult because we can't predict. But anyway, we'll try to answer that. Yes, ma'am?
It's been said that policemen are not social workers. This is for the Minister. Is the Minister looking at involving other departments, especially as many of these crimes are social crimes?
Yes, okay. I think there was a hand at the back.
Yeah, really, sorry. Just a clarification. I don't know if I missed it, but there was a question about the assaults, and the Commissioner had put up that very useful graph for us, but there was the question about the assaults actually decreasing and attempted murder increasing. I don't know if I missed the response to that, but yeah, maybe perhaps just a clarification. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, let's take the last two. Yes.
It's not a new question. It's linked to what has just been asked. When I asked about the link that you had made last year you attributed 65% of murders to assault. This is common and assault GBH. This year you are telling us that those assaults have come down, but the murders have gone up. Yet in the explanation you then go on to say that these murders are happening, Minister, you said, if you look at the trends, it's in places like liquor outlets. So you are at liquor outlets, the assaults are down, assault GBH, assault common is down, but people are still dying. You did not go as far as to then attribute where are these coming from, other than adding the issue of violent service delivery protests, violent protests in general. So I'd like you to then make the connection Because in the categories you had last year, you had things like murder related to other, committed in the commission of other crimes, etc., etc. If you could just make that link, that would really help.
Okay. And the last question for the day?
Zuleika Pretoria from ENCA. Just not a lot has been said about cyber crimes. If we can just please have some clarification, because that seems to be a big problem, and how are we looking to tackle that? Thank you.
Is that the last one?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Thank you for that round of questions. Success in ATM bombings, as well as bank robberies. I think the greatest one that one can think of and single out is that which has been referred to by the Minister as well as our presentation as policing partnerships, because in that area there is mutual flow of information. There's an osmosis of dealing with of ideas in terms of dealing with this matter. We share intelligence. We're able to jointly prioritize. There is co-investment by the partners as we invest our efforts and invest our resources. They also take, in terms of their own risk management, they take precautionary interventions, and we keep very close to each other to ensure that the output that we're jointly looking for, which is their ability to trade in a safe and secure environment, given the risk issues that they are handling, is very critical. So I'd like to say policing partnerships are very critical here, and the partners also not shying to come forward to also contribute in terms of managing their own risks. That takes us a long way, and this is why you would have heard us throughout this presentation talking about enhancing policing partnerships. The Minister has just mentioned, for instance, in terms of small businesses, to say there's a strategy that has been developed. We would like to see what role the municipality is going to play, what role the licensing authorities in terms of liquor and whatever other thing they are going to play, what role DTI is going to play to ensure that we all play our part and assist, because we come right at the end when we arrest. But if we haven't resolved the pipeline where all these other stakeholders are coming in, we are not making sustainable headways. We will keep on being reactive, arresting, releasing. So policing partnerships are very crucial in assisting us to do certain things. The issue around crime stats, I have said to you that over the 9 years, even the raw data shows you that there's a decline. In the in-year, you will get the raw data in your packs. You'd be able to understand the dynamic of that in-year, where we are seeing some bit of spike. And you also asked whether this murder was included in, somebody else asked about Marikana. I wanted to say the murders that you are seeing, they also include Marikana. Prediction for the next year, all I can tell you is that we're going to work hard. I can't give you the figures. We will meet with you to tell you how we've performed, but we're going back to work very hard. Ours is a responsibility to serve, and we're ready, as men and women in blue, to serve this nation. We'll go out and serve, and we hope that we can achieve and notch more improvements when we meet you next year to announce our statistics. There was a question around Marikana. I've answered that part to say the murders that you are seeing include also Marikana. And you were asking about the attributes. I'm not so sure whether what we have shared did not make sense. If it didn't, maybe we should have a bilateral to see what part of what we've shared didn't make sense to you. in terms of the reasons that we've advanced. We can have that discussion. Cyber crimes remain one of those crimes that are being tackled by various nations. We are also putting in our share in dealing with those. It's a new crime. It's a very daunting and challenging crime. We are shaping our interventions in this area. Currently, I would say our strategy is work in progress. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're collaborating with other departments, the Department of Communication, SSA, and many other departments that are involved in this space, because as a country, we need to have an integrated and consolidated strategy that will protect us of this harrowing crime. The banks are playing a very, very critical role in this one, because it's one of those high risks that they are managing, and we're also looking at what we can leverage from their efforts. I thank you.
The matter relating to continuous and constant success on categories like cash in transit, heist, and bank robberies, and what can be learned from there. Perhaps I would first start by saying that when we were given this responsibility of this portfolio, that was uppermost on the agenda, because it was a time when these sort of crimes were done brazenly and instilling a lot of fear within public. From some quarters, there were calls that we need to call in the army to deal with cash in transit heists and bank robberies. But we felt that it was important to sit down and plan, strategize, and work together with stakeholders in that field. And if there's anything we can take from this, is that sort of planning for other categories of crime, because it's that sort of planning which leads us to a situation where we say that some of these types of crimes are going to be obsolete. We may not be looking at reporting on them precisely because of the partnership, because of the capacity to share information and ensure that we work with partners in that area. Quite important, the issue about maybe firstly the National Commissioner has answered this Marikana question. Safe to say that all those people who were there on that day, prior, during and after, are included as murderers, those who were murdered. So it's not only people who died on that day, the 16th. The most important question about the types of crimes we are dealing with, very important, because it's quite clearly police cannot alone deal with those sort of crimes. They are the sort of crimes which are very difficult for police to police. If you talk of sexual offenses, and as we said, that in most cases they happen amongst acquaintances. They happen amongst relatives, stepfathers, uncles, and so on, behind closed doors. But in most instances, there are signals and symptoms. And this is where police would need this assistance from members of the public. And we have said that even beyond social crimes, generally crimes, that the kind of approach which is successful in fighting crime is that one that involves everybody else. The multidisciplinary, multi-agency approach has been the answer in dealing with a lot of crimes. If you take, for instance, the approach on El Dorado Park on drugs, it's drugs as a driver of crime, but there are many other crimes around that. As far as we're concerned, it's a winning formula. because it takes on board everybody else. It's not seen solely as a police matter or a security matter, because what happens there is that you would have people, you would need people like the people who have referred to, social workers. There are health matters involved there. There are whole issues of socio-economic conditions which have to be addressed. And this is what we've been saying, that police come at the tail end of everything. When there is a protest and everything else, it's not a security matter. Somebody has done something wrong to the community, and community are rebelling against that person, but police has to come. Because if we have that kind of an approach, we would be agreeing that it will help us to deal with this myth that police must solve all the problems, which are not necessarily security and police matter. And it's a very important contribution. And we've seen that in instances where such an approach has been developed and agreed to, there is a decline insofar as that is concerned, crime. And there is a better understanding in communities. We're asking the community, for instance, in Mitchell's Plain, where people are saying, no, call in soldiers and everybody else. And we've noticed that around that area, and not only in that province, people who are recruited to these gangs and drugs and so on are becoming younger and younger. It's your 10-year-old, it's your 12-year-old, and so on. So do you need to send soldiers to those people? Is that the approach? And we say, no, that's not the approach. The approach is correctly what you are raising, that the multidisciplinary approach, of course, police leading on the security matters. The issue of the deaths. You see, we have reported, for instance, that there's been increase in carjacking and truckjacking. What happens there, you will rarely find common assault in such instances. You will rarely find GBH. In most cases, it's murder. So you must take that on board. We've been dealing with a number of faction fights in some parts of the country, including KwaZulu-Natal. There's been taxi violence, which has murder in it and so on. So it's a whole host of things which contributes in the rate of murder going up by 0.6%, as we have reported. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. On the cybercrime, the National Commissioner has responded on that, but may I say that part of the increase in property crimes, the 1.7 we've spoken about, has to do with this area. And it's an area which is very critical. And we can see that as you move successfully dealing with bank robberies and so on, this is an area which robbers are going to be occupying and are occupying. We have seen, for instance, the resurgence in provinces like northwest of card cloning and so on and so forth. That from the government's point of view, led by communications, as the National Commissioner said, that we have just developed a strategy and it's in final stages to really, again, link up with our partners and stakeholders in that particular field. Because they report these things, they deal with them on a continuous basis, and in most cases, DPCI, working with the banking sector, has been able to make inroads, but it still remains an area of concern because we know that the kind of people who are dealing with criminals are not your low-ranking criminals we are dealing with. They are highly sophisticated, and therefore our working smart has to be sharpened to ensure that we deal with this very important area of crime fighting. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, National Commissioner. Just a few announcements before we close. The memory sticks will be given to all the media. You can contact my colleague, Vish Naidu. He's standing outside. And that the crime stats on the website are being posted as we speak, so they will be available in terms of provincial breakdown, including the metros as well. The last aspect relates to the